Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and Apple released iOS 26 public beta finally. You can now try this on your device if you'd like to try it as a public beta tester, see what it's like, and I wanted to go over the first things to try out with the new interface and some of the features. Now the first thing has to do with the overall interface. It now has a new design language called Liquid Glass. This comes with some new customizations, but you can see it here with the folders, so if I press on one of the folders it sort of has a glass look to it, and as I scroll left to right you can see it change as it goes over the wallpaper here with the folders. You'll see differences in places such as the control center, also music at the bottom with the menus, or with what's playing. You can see that change here, and it sort of just has a translucent glass appearance. Now there's some customizations that go along with that. On the home screen, if we press and hold, go to Edit in the upper left, and then go to Customize, you'll see we have a new clear icon option. This sort of gives all of the icons a glass look, and we both have a auto, light, or dark mode option. So depending on the wallpaper, you could change this, but it gives it sort of a different look if you want to use clear or translucent icons. So as we scroll through, if you take a look at the phone app there, you can see the wallpaper behind it, and it just gives a different look to it overall. So try this out, play around with the overall customizations, see what you like most. Again, you can leave it on auto as it switches from day to night, or just leave it on dark like it was before, and then some of the things such as the folders will stay translucent with the new interface. To go along with customizations on the home screen, if we go to the lock screen, you'll see that I have a different looking clock. So if we press and hold on the lock screen, we'll go to Customize, and you can see here as I swipe between different wallpaper, there's sort of a glass effect reflecting in the top of Customize. But when you add a new wallpaper or just customize your current wallpaper, you have some new options here. Tap on the clock, and you can see we have a slider now that we can adjust the thickness. This is only on the main font here, but we also can adjust where the widgets are. We can place them up here if we want to shrink the overall size of the font, or we can place them at the bottom if we'd like and have them in a different place. So if you want to maybe add some widgets here, you can do that. And then they'll be at the bottom if you'd like to have them there. So you can customize that however you'd like. And again, if we press and hold, you'll see the glass effect here on Do Not Disturb as well. So try this out and see what you can come up with the lock screen. Also, music has some really nice updates. One of them has to do with artwork. So for example, if I go into this album, let me turn it down here, we'll just play this song, and then we'll go to the lock screen. If we tap on the artwork here, it then fills up the screen, and depending on if the artwork is animated or not, you'll see it here as well. So we have full screen artwork along with that translucency that goes along with Liquid Glass. And you'll see the widgets sort of pop out of the way and then come back into the screen. Another thing that's new is down here we have a different interface as I showed before, and at the top you may have already noticed under Library we have some things that are pinned now. You can pin your favorite artists or maybe an album. So for example, if we go to Artists, let's go to maybe Anne Boleyn here, and maybe we want to scroll down and we'll pin this album, New Surrender, and then you'll see here if we scroll down a little bit more we have Pin Album. Now it's pinned to the top. If we go back here, you'll see it pinned at the top of our library. So that's a nice little update if you want to do that. Another update to music is it can now not only crossfade between songs, but also auto mix between songs. What this means is basically you can have one song, maybe it's in the style of rock and it's switching over to maybe a pop song. It can match the overall tempo and sort of the pacing of the song and blend right into it like a DJ would. You can activate this by going into your settings, scrolling down, going to apps and then music, and within music scroll down until you see song transitions. Under song transitions, you can select auto mix, where it says songs transition at the perfect moment based on analysis of the key and tempo of the music. So that's something you can use, or you can switch it back to crossfade or turn it off altogether. There's another thing to try under battery. If we go into the battery settings and then go to power mode, you'll also see that the battery interface has changed quite a bit. It gives you more information. And if we go under view all battery usage, it definitely has a different look to it and gives better information compared to before. It shows the different charge times, how much battery you've used total, and also of course your screen active and screen idle time. But if we go back, go down to power mode, you'll see I have something called adaptive turned on. You don't have to use this, but it says when your battery usage is higher than usual, iPhone can make small performance adjustments to extend your battery life, including slightly lowering the display brightness or allowing some activity to take a little longer. Low power mode may also turn on at 20%. Now, this is something if you're in bright environments a lot, you may want to turn off, as you may want to keep your screen brightness up so you can see your display. But just keep that in mind. If you're having that issue, turn it off if you've turned it on. Otherwise, I think it's a great little feature that you should try out. And while it's not really something you can adjust, one thing you may not be aware of is if we place this on a charger, it will now tell us how much longer to charge. So you'll see it says charging at the top. It takes a moment here. And if we go into our battery, you'll see it says to 100% in 1 hour and 23 minutes. You can also see this on the lock screen. So if we unlock, it says 91% charged, and it will switch to your date, but if it's under 80%, it will tell you how long to charge up to 80%. Above that, it won't show you for some reason. Maybe they'll change that in future updates. Now, we all face a lot of spam calls that seem to be really annoying, and there's some new features in here I would recommend trying out. If we go into our settings, scroll down to apps, and then go to phone, and within the phone settings, if we scroll down, you'll see a new section called Screen Unknown Callers. We have 3 different options now that I would recommend enabling based on your overall need. Typically, I have it set to ask reason for calling. It can now ask for a reason for calling from an unsaved number before it rings your phone. So they can actually respond just like voicemail, where you could read it on your phone before, you can see what they're saying, or it can give a response and then allow it to come through. You can also silence them. Calls from unsaved numbers will be silenced, sent to voicemail, and displayed on recent lists. Or you can just turn it off altogether. And then you have call filtering, of course, where you can silence spam callers still. So there's some additional options here. Definitely try this out, but be aware if you're not receiving calls you think you should be receiving, change it to never and see if that helps. Now, if you use messages, we have similar updates here as well compared to what we have with phone. If we go into our message settings and then scroll down, you'll see that we have the option for unknown senders to screen unknown senders, allow notifications, text message filtering, and filter spam. Apple is now managing this a little bit differently in iOS 26, and if we go into the Messages app, and within Messages, you'll see a new menu in the upper right. Tap on it and you'll see Messages, Unknown Senders, so maybe you were expecting a message and it wasn't from someone you knew. It will go to Unknown Senders. We also have Spam and Recently Deleted. If you don't like this, of course, you can turn it off in those manage filtering options that we were just in. So if we go into those, so you can turn these off, screen unknown sender, filter spam, and if we go back to messages, you'll see in the upper right, if we tap on the same menu, we just have messages and recently deleted. All of your messages will then come through. So just play around with this based on how you want to use it. And also another thing you can do in messages now is set background images. So let me switch these back. And within an individual message, you'll see that we have sort of a glass bubble at the top. If we tap on that under the name, you'll see we have a new option for backgrounds. We can then change the background to a photo of our choice. Color, we can use Image Playground with Apple Intelligence, Sky, Water, or Aura. If we go into Aura, we have a couple different options, and they're moving backgrounds. So we can have green, purple, or pink. So we can swipe between those, whatever works for us. And if we set this one and go back, you'll see here that it's a moving background, and this actually changes on the other person's phone as well. So this is something you can change around. However, it does heat the phone up quite a bit and does seem to use a little extra power at this point. So just keep that in mind. If you're using that, you may want to turn it off, but at least try it out and see what you think. Another thing you should try out is Photos. Photos has been updated with a new interface. You'll see similar menus to what we had in Messages. However, at the bottom, we now have 2 icons. We have Library and Collections. So under Library and Collections, if we scroll down, we get some additional options here where we can sort. But if we go to Collections, it's more like what we have in iOS 18. So we can customize this. Maybe we'll have pinned, we have our memories, albums, people and pets, featured photos, and then we can sort these however we'd like with utilities and more. So if you want to maybe customize these, we'll customize utilities, you can then do that. However, if you just want it to be like it was before, maybe iOS 17, go to your library and everything's here. So it's much different, much better for many people. And this just gives you an idea of the interface change, but you may want to customize this based on what works best for you and what you want to see here. So you can reorder everything, get rid of things if you'd like, reorder them, maybe put albums down here at the bottom. If we go under pinned, you could then get rid of specific things there. So edit things that are pinned, get rid of them, and again, customize it however you'd like. So definitely try that out if you haven't already. Now, if you play a lot of games on your iPhone, Apple has added a new Games app. Now, this isn't something I use regularly, but you'll see it here down at the bottom. And if we go into it, this is very similar to what we had before with Game Center. We have additional games here. Continue playing. Friends are playing, so we can play against different friends, maybe challenge them in a different game, Clash of Clans, something like that. And then it has For You suggestions. So you can play together with others. And then, of course, you have your different scores and things at the top. So if we go into my icon here, or my account in the upper right, you'll see here we have our friends. We can invite friends, have friend requests, challenges, and achievements. So it's definitely more like Game Center that we had before. They've just brought many of those features back. Apple has also brought the Preview app to iOS. We've had this on Mac for a while, but if we go into Preview, you'll see all of our recent photos, and maybe we'll go into one such as the iPad video I did recently on iOS 26 or iPadOS 26 rather, and we have some options in the upper right. Go to the upper right and you'll see remove background. It can remove the background entirely, but it may not crop it the way you want to. So you'll see we can just undo and go back. But we have this app, and also you can set these different files to open specifically in Preview. So if we go into the Files app, you can see more of that here. So within Files, you'll see some of my thumbnails here recently. If we press and hold on one, we have the option to open with, and then we can preview with Quick Look. So that's what I currently have open, but you can change this to go right into Preview, or we can preview with Quick Look now. So we go into it, see it, but if we wanted to open maybe in the other app here, directly with Preview, I can then have it do that. So now if I tap on it, it will open directly here, or go into Preview if you want it to. So that's a nice little update where you have some options. And then of course you can use the Preview app to customize things a little bit better without going into Photos and then editing everything there. It works with PDFs and more. With iOS 26 so far, we don't have the major Siri upgrade, but we do have an Apple Intelligence upgrade to a few different things. Image Playground gets an update, and I would recommend trying this out, as you can now generate images using ChatGPT. If we go to New Image, then here at the top, you'll see Style already says ChatGPT. But originally we would have animation, illustration, and sketch. Now we have Genmoji and ChatGPT, and then of course we can change those styles as well. So if I want to generate something that's maybe a little bit more realistic, I could say a Porsche 911 on the beach next to a house. And let's see what it comes up with, as it should be more realistic compared to what we had before, with just sort of cartoony looks built in. So again, we'll give it just a moment here, and you'll see this is what it came up with, sort of a more classic 911 with a house next to the beach. You of course can change this, modify it however you'd like, and then come up with something entirely different. So that's something they've built in. You can also do double Genmoji this time around, where you can combine a couple things. So for example, you can do that in Messages, or again in Image Playground. So if we go back out, maybe we'll go to New Image, we'll go over to Genmoji, we'll combine two things with a tortoise and a hare racing. Let's see if it can come up with anything that looks remotely like that. Give it just a moment here and see what it comes up with. But you could add this to your emoji, and you'll see a little picture there with a couple different things. You can combine them together or just create multiple things at once. So that's something that's a little bit different with iOS 26. Now, there are a lot of other features and changes throughout, with accessibility updates, better support for Braille, many other options all throughout the OS. There's changes to the camera app where it's completely different, where you swipe left and right to go to different modes, swipe again and get more. It's a little bit simpler, but maybe not as intuitive. You have some options here at the top. So definitely look throughout the OS how you would use it regularly and try it out for yourself. There's customizations in Safari where it lets you change the tabs from compact to bottom to top. So maybe you want it at the top here, you want the address bar up here, you can do that, or you can change it back to the bottom, or just compact altogether. So it's up to you. Be sure to check out all the different things throughout the OS, and I have separate videos going over every single new feature that's included with iOS 26. Hopefully that helps you get started. Let me know what your favorite feature is in iOS 26 in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.